Trump's $1.8 billion anti-government weaponization fund. Meanwhile, former Attorney General Pam Bondi is testifying on Capitol Hill this morning, appearing before House lawmakers investigating the Jeffrey Epstein matter. It's called the Memorandum of Understanding. Under consideration by the U.S. and Iran, it would extend the ceasefire for 60 days, allowing for negotiations over Iran's nuclear program to continue, and also allow freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. Fed up with high energy prices, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says oil and gas prices will drop once the U.S.-Iran conflict has been settled. Stocks higher on Wall Street. The Dow is up 231 points. The Nasdaq trading 58 points higher. This is SRN News.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part, it's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Estate planning lawyer and CPA Bob Carlson has been called America's #1 retirement expert. Tens of thousands of American retirees trust his advice, but his latest bombshell sounds almost too good to be true. It's a way to boost Social Security income and collect more on every Social Security check and create a lifetime monthly income stream 100% tax-free. So today, Bob has made it his mission to give retirees and future retirees the full story in a free report. Log on now to retirementwatchreport.com to get yours. This retirement strategy is fully approved by the IRS, even though less than 1% of Americans know enough to use it. Nobel Prize-winning economist and MIT professor Robert Merton predicts this strategy will become one of the key ways to fund retirement in the future. Log on to retirementwatchreport.com to get your free report. That's retirementwatchreport.com. retirementwatchreport.com.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. Dave Elswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back.
All right, back with you, Dave Elswick. Kenny Wallace is my guest. He is here today talking about local politics, and he's already given us information about the whole move of trying to get these data centers quickly okayed and built here in Pulaski County. And people are showing up to make their thoughts known in the public hearings, and the problem is that the Pulaski court isn't letting people know when those meetings are going to be quick enough so people can make necessary arrangements to be there, and then they let them talk after they've already voted on the bill.
Yeah, which is the few times.
That's a little bit more of getting the cart before the horse.
Exactly. In the past, he would be able to speak before an ordinance was voted on. So they've changed a lot of things, and again, I have the Pulaski County Quorum Court website on right here. I have it under list grid view, and the calendar doesn't show anything, and I have the dates June 1st through June 30th, and it says no events found. So it's not like are they having a meeting in June at all or not? You would think they would with everything that's going on. But that seems to be kind of the problem we have is our local governments have just completely and utterly failed us. And also the Republican Party of Arkansas has been a failure in terms of, fielding candidates and funding them to be able to put people in place that would fight, for your rights. And it's, there's a, Little Rock, there's a BJ Wire supposed to be running for mayor against Frank Scott Jr., who is now only pretending to fight against data centers after it's past due. And that's one of his many failures. As a matter of fact, you just had flooding in Little Rock again because he's been so busy at Arthur's Steakhouse and going out to parties with his bodyguard entourage that we're paying for. He's never bothered to deal with stuff like that, or the rampant crime that's happened. If you go to LRH and Cash, you'll see all kinds of bum fights and police and everything else going on. And and of course there was an attempt to, and some money was spent on, I think it was a $200 million concrete park that he wanted to build over I-30 between 6th and 9th Street.
That's kind of gone the way of the dodo bird.
Yes, fortunately enough people put enough pressure on it, and we knew about it ahead of time. We were able to at least stop that. But this would be a candidate that I think if enough money were given to somebody like BJ Wire to run against him, probably could be defeated. But I don't see the Republican Party focusing on that. I mean, during the primary elections when there was that in their city council positions, but again, and to be politically feasible, the third parties just aren't going to come together. It's, libertarians love a lot of what they do. They've done a lot of good. They fought against some tax increases, I think there was actually a jail up in Benton County that they led the effort in fighting against. But they tend to, for whatever reason, botch their efforts, and maybe this time they'll do a little better job of focusing on getting their message out. But a real good way we could fix this state is to reform the Republican Party, get it to where, because most of the members of the Republican Party don't want these data centers, they don't want higher taxes, they don't want these government regulations. They want the income tax eliminated, not just nibbled at, so it can be used on a campaign flyer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nonpartisan.
Yeah, officially it's nonpartisan, but of course we all know.
That's kind of where I'm leaning. We can get in and walk right here. I'll even try. I'm gonna try overtime again.
Yeah, if you were to run to have that on your title. For instance, for Pulaski County Judge, you mentioned before, there is a guy running against, well, it was Barry Hyde. Now it's going to be Wendell Griffin, who's from the same party as Barry Hyde. And Wendell's doing the same thing at Frank Scott Jr. He's pretending to fight against data centers now that there's a big outrage.
Campaign from a bed that you can push around.
yeah. He should have been kicked out just for that. He was, for those that don't know, Wendell Griffin was a judge. He's one of these leftist activist judges. Should have been defunded and kicked out of the bar years ago for that protest and the death penalty itself.
There were several Republicans that wanted to do that, but just did not have enough votes to get it.
Yeah, that's been a problem. Again, it comes back to the Republican Party every time there's a real conservative effort that can make a difference, somehow there's not enough votes, even though we have a Republican supermajority. I mean, we could put a budget and set the budget for like Tim Fox or Chris Piazza or one of these other activist judges to zero. We've had multiple sessions where we've been able to do that. It hadn't been done because, again, the consultant class that I mentioned earlier, they actually run the party. By the way, the guy running in the Republican side for county judge is Michael Russian.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, he's the candidate who has announced that he's
okay.
And so he's a candidate that's running for that position there.
That's right. We've had Michael on a couple of times.
Yep.
He's a pretty dynamic speaker too.
Chris Phillips. Okay. Yeah. Find out whoever's running for office, find out who their campaign manager is and make sure they're not one of these globalist consultant types. And if they are, I mean, they may be a nice guy, but the sad thing is they're probably going to get, led astray, even if they, start off as a conservative. So that's something to think about when somebody's running for office. Oftentimes you're not voting for that person. You're voting for, who's actually running their campaign, especially if it's a federal office. Who's their chief of staff, who's going to, actually be running the shots. And we saw that with Joe Biden, because we all know Biden, especially the last few years, he wasn't running anything. But the sad reality is a lot of your other people that are in office, they really don't write the laws. They don't make the decisions. It's the chief of staff or someone similar that's actually writing the laws that affect you. And so you need to find, or half a dozen other organizations, or and on a local level, it's oftentimes those organizations I mentioned before. The Association of Counties, the Municipal League, the other ones that write the rules, and then your county officials just kind of do whatever they say. And so you don't really have what they call local control. You just have a bunch of people that are just working for globalists that happen to live in your backyard. So
bottom line, the county judge, he's not a judge in the traditional sense, he is an administrator, basically handled all the money for the roads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's their major responsibility. And we've seen county judges that have done a good job with that. We've seen county judges that are abysmal at that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they make it political at that point.
Yeah. And the good news is when enough people find out what's going on local level and they try to get involved, it can make a difference. I just saw this on Twitter X. Andover, New Jersey canceled data center project and passes a complete ban because they had a massive amount of people show up in a town hall, and apparently they were worried that it was going to get out of control. And so they call it meeting chaos, but enough people got there and put pressure on them to shut that down. And then this is another similar story, Festus, Missouri. They voted out every single city council member who approved of an AI data center against their will.
That, my friend, is exactly the type of thing that has to happen if you want to change business as usual.
Yep. Yeah, and it should have been done years ago. I wish it had been done after LM Wind Power. And I reminded people, I think last time I was here, about that scam. It was a $150 million pet project. It was supposed to give us 1,000 jobs. It never even made it to 500. And several $1 million was spent from various funds that could have been used. The Economic Development Commission had a hand in that. And then there was another wind power place up in Jonesboro that was $100 million for 700 jobs, and it went bankrupt as well.
Yeah, that seems to happen when the federal government suddenly, the money dries up for who they're going to give that money to.
Yeah.
And when it's not being financed to buy, the feds, then the money's not there. I mean, look, over the last few years, because the Biden administration was pushing solar panels, you could almost get your whole roof covered in solar panels at very little cost to yourself. But then people started finding out about what happens when the panels go bad, how you got to replace it, what happens to your roof while they're up on your roof, and things of that nature. And suddenly people thought, even if they're free, they're not worth having.
Yeah, you have to, the supposed money you save in electricity, you have to pay, and everything from installation to repairs. And then eventually you have to dispose of them, and they end up being more toxic. They actually put out real pollution, not carbon. Carbon's not a pollution, by the way, for those who don't know, but real pollution. I think it's, and oftentimes we're finding out a lot of these solar panels are made from materials that are harvested via slave labor. Oftentimes Congo, I think they have a lot of lithium mines, and they have kids out there working conditions that are even worse than when slavery was in the South. I mean, they're going to die of toxic poisoning before they hit 20.
Yeah, just go to Google and Google in Africa and toxic chemicals and then youth, and you will be stunned at what they're doing with kids over there.
Yeah, and it's kind of a lot of these agendas have been forced on we the people without our say. And again, organizations that were supposed to protect us against this, like the Republican Party, have failed. I'll say this, the church has for the most part failed. And so oftentimes you have to have outside organizations come together, like the fight against these crypto mining facilities. That was done by outside organizations that had, outside of the Republican Party, they had to get together and fight against that. Of course, during the COVID Fauci flu circus that was going on, the group called Reopen Arkansas had to come together and say, no, we don't want the vaccine forced on us. And now they're the Republican Patriots of Arkansas, and they're trying to reform the Republican Party so it can get back to doing what it's supposed to be doing, what it should have been doing.
What's difficult about that is when you try to change those organizations, it's very difficult because the head people of those organizations want to stay in power, and so they don't get behind you and they don't help you out.
Yeah. I mean, RPA chair Joseph Wood, he's part of the problem as well. The Rules Committee, which actually has Chase Duggar, another globalist consultant, he's part of the problem. Belinda Harris Ritter is on that Rules Committee as well. Chris Caldwell's mom, Jonelle Caldwell, she's part of the New Generation scam organization. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are running the Republican Party from behind the scenes that are part of the problem. We saw, I think it was Nebraska, where they had their convention, and the police there actually arrested a guy, handcuffed him, supposedly for allegedly trespassing, but later on he was let go. And then he actually, I think, ended up being in position of power. And right after that, a lot of these consultant types had to resign from the Nebraska GOP because they had taken over their convention. The conservatives had got in there and successfully weeded out a lot of the, some call them rhinos. I call them consultant class. There's been some names for the sellouts, people that just never really should have been there in the first place.
All right, we got to get a break in. Let's get our final break for this half hour in, and then Kenny and I will come back and we'll let him wrap it up and put a big red bow on top of it, and we'll call it a week as far as local politics go, and then get ready for Razorback Zach to join us, talk a little baseball, college style, a little fast pitch softball, college style, and that's all coming up next on the Dave Elswick Show.
Coverage to emergency information and local voices, AM radio still matters. Congress is moving closer to protecting AM radio in every vehicle, but your voice is critical. Tell Congress to keep AM radio strong. Text AM to 39179.
AM radio.
When the retirement's just
Listen to
around
that in
the
a
corner,
long
we're
time.
all right here. It's common to be overwhelmed.
They're
That's
going
where
to be
Total
disappearing
Wealth
in
with
the
David
near
Lucas
future.
can help. Utilizing their signature Thrive planning process, they'll work together with you to
It
identify
started
and
when
resolve
people
your
started
concerns,
putting the little
allowing you to
audio
fully
box
pursue your passions and
receivers
enjoy
in their
life.
cars so they
Because
can
a
get
successful
FM signals in their car.
isn't just how much you pay.
It's the quality of life you live. Schedule a free
Yes, I was alive during that time.
TotalWealth.com. While you're at the website, download the free guide to Social Security. It'll help answer a lot of your questions. Go to
So I guess Lemieux, the great hockey star from the 80s, committed suicide is what I'm hearing now.
Or call 501
Went back to the back of
That's 501
a second warehouse that they had, put a gun to his head and
Go to
popped himself.
TotalWealth.com.
Goodness.
Investment advisory
Yeah,
services
there's
offered
a,
through Total Wealth and Arkansas
official in the
Arkansas
Republican Party of Arkansas.
Arkansas 161-52743.
In this new movie, The Dragon's
It's pretty bad when
Dinesh D'Souza
you allow things like that to dictate your life. I mean, if you don't have it, then you feel like you have no worth in your
Of
life.
humanity itself be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East. Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture.
We come back, we're going to have about 6 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just kind of go through some organizations that are, helpful.
Yeah, why don't you talk about what's coming up, meetings that people should be looking at.
And scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. Now back to the Dave Elswick Show. 101.1, The Answer.
All right, let's finish it up for a Friday here on the Dave Elswick Show. Kenny Wallace is my special guest. And Kenny, what are some meetings that are going to be held that people should be looking at? I mean, probably you might want to go to the state convention, the Republican Party state convention. I don't know if you have to have some kind of pass. I know you do if you're going to vote, but I don't know if it's just to observe.
Yeah, well, hopefully what they'll do is you can at least go in there and go to the hotel. I know the convention before last, the Republican Party of Arkansas illegally hired the Little Rock Police Department to first keep Pulaski County delegates out and then kicked people out of the lobby, whether they were delegates or not. So hopefully they won't have that kind of activity again, but it'll be June 6th at the NBC Suites in Little Rock, 9 a.m. So far as, like I said, I just went back to the Republican Party of Arkansas website. It's still not there. But as far... Yeah, so you kind of have to, again, look for that. I'm not sure. There's lots of different organizations that are meeting about the data centers. You'll kind of have to find out where their group. There's been several groups, however, that have been fighting against this type of stuff for a while. And I'll kind of mention them. Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative, Arkansas VII. They mainly focus on getting rid of some of the rip-off voting machines. Arkansas Transparency in Government Group, the TIG, they focus on FOIA rights. Reopen Arkansas, as I mentioned before. I haven't heard from them in a while, but there were Moms for Liberty groups. I remember them come up because when the Southern Poverty Law Center thing came out, I remembered that they had actually they'd accused them of being hate groups.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, there was a group meeting in Cabot that I had talked with a couple of times, and I don't know if they're still meeting or not. They were attacked in the press and all kinds of things as being, radicals.
Yeah, yes.
Those damn radicals. Shut up. Sit down.
Exactly. Of course, a great organization to get information on what's going on is Conduit News. They do great reports on what's going on. on a local level as well. Secure the Republic also is a group called Secure Arkansas. They're the same organization. They've been fighting it. They were one of the groups that fought against the fluoridation of water and against some of the solar farms and windmill farms years ago. They were one of the groups that helped the group in Valonia defeat that issue. And of course, y'all can follow me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble, where I do updates on what's going on. I try to do videos and show people a little what's going on. Twitter X, I'm on there's Keep AR Legal, Just the Right Angle, and also Keep Arkansas Legal and Truth Social, and on MeWe as well, and Gab. I used to be on Parler, but I don't even know if it's still up anymore.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so the powers that be got rid of that. Big Tech got rid of that. Yeah, remember, Big Tech is for the most part been heavily against you. I know some people are thinking they may get jobs at this data center. If you're a Christian conservative, you're not going to get a job at this data center. It's probably going to go to somebody with an HB1 visa that has not from around here. It's not going to, yeah, and that's for the few jobs that it will get.
Yeah, because once it starts running, they really don't need people.
Yeah, they only need a few people, and again, Big Tech has a history of being anti-Christian conservative. It's been that way for a while. Zuckerberg, of course, is against it. I think he's pretending to be a friend of Trump now. Bill Gates is, of course, as you know, big globalist. I don't know if he's still trying to poison people with ticks or what he's doing now, but yeah, for the most part, most of Big Tech has been anti-USA, anti-Christian, anti-conservative. And George Orwell had the thing about Big Brother watching you.
Oh, yeah.
That's most likely what these data centers are really going to be for, because you notice they never actually tell you what kind of information these data centers are going to process.
That's because they want all the data. They want everything.
Yeah. So when people say it's going to be a mass surveillance center, that's probably what it's going to be, and that's one of many reasons why you need to do everything you can to shut these things down and make the people who set it up pay in one way or another. Vote them out. If you're
that's the best way, like they did in some other states.
Yep.
You need to make up your mind that these people are not voting in our best interest, and tell them to move on out somewhere and go somewhere else.
Exactly. A side note: these data centers, one of the main issues is the heat and the water the usage. I have always wondered why they couldn't build these in areas where the heat was mitigated, like in Alaska, and then run fiber optic cable to where they would allegedly need to send the data. It makes no sense to build these in any place where the temperature is going to go into triple digits.
Now, if Musk has his way, they're going to build them in outer space.
Yeah, that would at least be better in terms of at least those issues.
Talking about it, at least, to see if it happens.
Yeah.
So what's up with you today? Are you just kicking back today, and since it's raining outside, and going to spend time with your lovely wife?
Rebecca and I have been kind of spending time. She's actually done with some of her job for a while, so we're relaxing, doing some house projects. I'm actually going to go do some work in another area, but yeah, it's. I still try to get involved somewhat politically, but of course it's a little bit difficult with what's going on, the way things are going. But yeah, Rebecca and I are still trying to enjoy life as best we can, and doing our part to make the world a better place.
Keep up what you're doing, Kenny, because you're one of the few people that go to most of the meetings, and at least we who can't make all those meetings can go online and watch them because of you, and we thank you for that.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, and thank you for your show and letting folks know what's going on.
All right, let's take a break and then come back. We'll talk to Razorback Zach. What about them Hogs? Are they going to go to Omaha? We'll talk about that. And